Thank you, Mariam. We now begin the first session, and as General Ehsan said in his opening remarks that he would have liked to make some comments after he had heard the presentations about the review of the 27th NSG Plenary. I will invite you, sir, to make some comments at the end of the session as well. So it would of course have to be extempore, but I am sure you will be able to give us some valuable insights. I also welcome at this time my good friend, the Austrian ambassador, who is the representative of the country which hosts the International Atomic Energy Agency. Thank you, Ambassador. We now begin the first session. My first speaker in this session is Mr. Khalil Hashmi of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He is currently Director General, UN and Arms Control, UN Arms Control and Disarmament at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He joined the Pakistan Foreign Service in 1994. He brings with him over 2 decades of diplomatic and policy experience, both bilateral and multilateral. His diplomatic career includes bilateral postings at Pakistan embassies in Copenhagen and Beijing. He's twice served as at the Pakistan mission to the United Nations in New York, including as Deputy Permanent Representative. I myself benefited from Mr. Khalil Hashmi's experience and knowledge of the work of the mission when I was nominated by the Foreign Secretary at that time to go to New York to be an observer of the NPT Review Conference of 2005. Khalil was very, very helpful. At the Foreign Ministry, Mr. Hashmi has previously held portfolios such as Director General for European Region, Director for Disarmament Affairs in South Asia, United Nations as well as OIC. And he has worked extensively on a range of policy issues related to WMDs. Mr. Khalil Hashmi was in Bern when the 27th NSG Plenary took place. So he will bring to us first-hand observation of how he saw the plenary session. Mr. Khalil Hashmi, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Ambassador Naqvi. Thank you for this invitation and for your kind words. It's a great pleasure to be amongst very distinguished senior colleagues, generals, foreign secretaries, ambassadors, and other members of the think tank community. What I plan to do is I just want to preface my remarks making 4 points. First, what I'm going to lay out to you is essentially an outsider's account. Pakistan, although I was in Bern, but I was not inside the hall where the NSG plenary took place. Second, the NSG maintains a very strict code of confidentiality. So Pakistan, while we have attended meetings on the sideline and interacted with delegations, we fully respect that code. So my remarks also flow from that overall framework. 3, the NSG plenary in Bern was, I just want to emphasize this point. Of course, we are discussing Pakistan and India membership applications for NSG. This plenary was not about only this issue. This plenary had almost 14 agenda items. So one of the agenda items related to Pakistan and India's applications for NSC membership. The Bern plenary was immediately preceded by two other meetings. One is, of course, the consultative group meeting, which is a kind of expert body of the NSC, which prepares for the NSC plenary meetings. Another meeting that took place prior to the Bern plenary was an information exchange meeting. Now we all know this Bern plenary was the fourth meeting since Pakistan formally applied for NSC membership. Pakistan applied, as you all know, in May 2016. So Seoul plenary took place in June last year, followed by an informal meeting of the NSC on the sidelines of the consultative group meeting in Vienna. That was last year in November. And then there was another consultative group meeting in early April this year, and then came the NSC plenary. Why I mentioned these meetings is just to put things in context. Seoul plenary is actually the starting point where the membership applications of Pakistan and India were first formally considered. And Seoul plenary significance is evident from the fact that there is now a formal agenda item on the NSC which says the legal, technical, political aspects of participation of non-NPT states. So that's the baseline, or that's the formal agenda item in which these discussions take place. And as we all know, again, just to, before I go into what type of discussions took place, the NSC also operates, apart from the consultative group and the plenary format, there is this troika mechanism, which is 3 countries, the previous one, the current one, and the forthcoming chair of the NSC. So at present we have, of course, the previous one is ROK, the present one is CISS, and the future one is awaited. There is one country which has indicated its desire to chair. It's not formal yet. So till that time, Argentina has, which was prior to ROK, the chair of the NSC plenary, is continuing as one of the 3 members of the Troika. I won't go into the substance of the discussions per se. Ambassador Naqvi has partially alluded to why Pakistan is seeking membership of the NSC. General Ehsan has also highlighted some aspects of especially the implications for an India alone membership on our region in Pakistan. So I won't go there. What I'll focus is on the discussion which took place under this agenda item, which is the legal, technical, political aspects. Just to give you a sense, there are 2 schools of thoughts that have emerged since Seoul plenary. One school of thought, of course, which advocates that it's been a year, a lot of discussion has taken place on the legal, political, and technical aspects, and perhaps it's time to move towards a decision phase. There is, of course, another school of thought within the NSC which says, well, the issue is pretty complex, given that this is a new paradigm in which to operate, considering both Pakistan and India are non-NPT states. So the membership issue is not that straightforward. So their view is that we need more comprehensive discussions, and these discussions should be directed towards evolving some sort of benchmarks or some sort of criteria. So once that criteria is agreed, only then we can move on to the decision phase. So this is what is called informally within NSE a two-process or two-step approach. So there are countries on both sides of this argument whether to accelerate the process of moving towards a decision, and then there are others who, of course, want a detailed discussion leading to evolution of agreed benchmarks. There is another set of issues that's being discussed within the NSE, especially in the Bern plenary also, and that is there are two types of countries. One is, of course, those who advocate for a criteria and a benchmark. There is a group of countries which advocate for a hard criteria, which is, and by which I mean adherence to CTPT, FNCT, a separation plan between civilian and nuclear facilities, additional protocols, and so on and so forth. Perhaps a few other commitments in the area of non-proliferation. There are others who think that if we go that way, it may be very difficult to agree because of critical consideration and other factors to agree on a neat criteria. So they advocate a more streamlined approach whereby the spirit of the NSE factors for participation in the member states is captured, and then adherence to CTPT or other treaties and adherence to additional protocol and stuff like that should not be pursued, and it should be a neater arrangement, providing for basic commitments whereby countries who are aspirants or applicants undertake those commitments, and thereby paving the way for membership. This discussion is still going on. In terms of anticipation, I think in terms of the process, many, and we also thought that this Bern plenary was not convened to take a decision because the process, the way it is evolving, in a way it has, I won't use the word stalled, but it has certainly slowed down, and there were several factors for that. The kind of enthusiasm shown by some countries in Seoul plenary, I think that has also dissipated. Some sort of hard reality is dawned, that there are real issues, and it is difficult to short circuit because countries have taken position one way or the other. So consensus, while it remains an objective, because as we all know, consensus is the decision-making principle within the NSC. So these discussions continue, and this is what many had anticipated, that this would be more a process-related meeting rather than a meeting which would go deeper into substance and then go on to kind of decision palatable to everyone. I think there was a general agreement that the chair, the Swiss, the new chair, which has taken over from ROK on the first day of the plenary, formally taken over from ROK, conducted the meeting very professionally. I think he was widely seen as an honest broker, and the choice of venue and the way it was, I mean, suffice to say that it was professionally done. So there was a specific venue, which was one of the international organizations' headquarters, where access was limited. So it wasn't like what happened in Seoul. So it was, in that sense, it was handled and managed differently. So the people that we interacted with, they were highly appreciative of the role of the chair being impartial, being honest, broker, and so on and so forth. The NSE, after there were detailed, of course, discussions. The significant point is that there wasn't much change in terms of countries' positions either way. It was essentially a reiteration of the positions. There are, of course, we know countries which have expressed support. So there wasn't much of a change in terms of something new being said or argued. So it was mostly a reiteration of positions. Almost, we understand there were over 30 countries spoke on this specific item. Again, there was no new proposal. There was a brief discussion on, not essentially discussion, some countries did raise the grocery formula or proposals. Others had different views, and this has been the case since November last year. There are two divergent views on whether grocery proposal or formula serves as a basis to pursue membership or not. The public statement that NSG plenary issued after the conclusion of the meeting makes reference to 2 points. One is that it acknowledges that a discussion took place on this specific agenda item, the legal, technical and political aspects, and countries or the participating governments agreed to continue these discussions. The second element was that the participating governments noted the intention of the new chair to convene an informal meeting in Vienna in November. So this is pretty much in public domain. So what is, I think the role of the chair, not especially the Swiss chair, all chairs is significant in the sense that they have the job of reconciling different views, trying to develop consensus, and preparing, and then making the judgment call whether, when the meeting, any meeting takes place, there is sufficient groundwork that has been undertaken so that the environment would be assessed where a decision could be presented and then acted upon. This is what I think people believe that the Swiss chair will do in the lead up to informal plenary meeting in November that will take place in Vienna. He would hold consultations. He did that prior to assuming his chair. He will continue that. This is nothing new. This is what the NSG chairs have been doing and will continue to do. As far as our delegation is concerned, we, of course, this is part of our own outreach and diplomatic outreach to various countries. We met several delegations on the sidelines, and our outreach continues at various levels in various forms. And of course, we are making our case based on 2-3 main points, and one is, of course, that in terms of the what should be the basis for deciding on the applications of non-democratic states. So our position has been very clear and consistent that any criteria or benchmark that the NSG involves should be transparent, objective, and non-discriminatory. The second point is that Pakistan joining the NSG, we see it as a mutually beneficial proposition. So it's not that just when Pakistan is inside the NSU, so it's one party or gaining more or the others more. We see it as a mutually beneficial proposition. Third, we have, of course, and Ambassador Naqvi referred to it, and I'm sure other colleagues, when they speak, they will also talk about Pakistan's credentials, our ability to supply items, and our track record in terms of export control and so on and so forth. So all in all, this was more a process-related meeting. I would characterize it as a work in progress. I wouldn't want to venture into when and how a decision would be taken, whether the ground is or whether there is enough work and political will that exists. I think that would be that would perhaps require another seminar or a session to discuss that. So this is what I have to say. Thank you very much, Ambassador Naqvi. Thank you again for the invite.